Hey there, hooligans and role models. This is the best looking and funniest Change Your POV Network Special Forces host, Jeff. I want to remind you all of how much your time and patronage means to us here at the network, and especially to the Changing Hearts and Minds podcast. I also would not be doing my part if I didn't request and challenge you all to help us keep this party moving forward by giving those reviews on the social media pages of your favorite shows. Go to iTunes or whatever podcast platform you get your content downloaded from and also review them there. Also, we do have some bills and personal costs for us here at Change Your POV Network, and appreciate all the patrons who donate to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/changeyourpov. Please, guys, be a part of the mission and donate. We have some perks and exclusive content for those who help, and I will personally mention you if you do help us make a difference in our own veteran community, or if you just want to be a thankful citizen and donate to show your support and gratitude. If you don't want me to mention your name, I won't. Just put it in there. But otherwise, I'm going to say your name because people should know that you're being part of the solution, not part of the problem. So enough of my rambling about the crap that I'm doing right now. Let's get me to rambling about the stuff that you came here to hear about.
Can you keep a secret?
Changing hearts and minds. Changing hearts and minds. Changing hearts and minds.
Welcome to Change Your POV podcast. You're listening to Changing Hearts and Minds, a show about reviving the warrior spirit and remembering the past to improve our future. I'm your host, Jeff Adamick. Let's get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I totally screwed or what? You're funny.
I want to discuss all this behavior.
Let me out of here!
The cost of what veterans do is high and everlasting. We have seen many give the last full measure of devotion for the cause of liberty and freedom. And although we have modern medicine to reduce the overall loss of life in this conflict, it also means that more veterans are left with permanent disabilities, both physical, mental, seen and unseen. The tragic reality is not that this truth exists, but the truth is that the reality of the passing of time, many of these heroes become distant memories, or even worse, totally forgotten and no longer a part of the told American story. The following episode of Changing Hearts and Minds is about keeping those men and women in some part of our thoughts. For the families, for the forgotten disabled, and ultimately for ourselves as Americans. Because if we fail to remember them, then we fail to honor the sacrifice that they have willingly made for our nation and for our own children's future. God bless America, and let's never forget them. The following list is a list of locations, specifically where there's parking spots that have been donated by those businesses through a project that we'll be talking about, for the men that will be named along with the businesses. I want to thank for all veterans and their families, these businesses, and those responsible for the project and what they are doing, because it's far more than they know. And what they are accomplishing with this project means more to people than they could possibly just with a thank you, with any kind of a monetary payment, or with something as simple as a flower on a gravestone. Let's give these companies and these men that are doing this the respect and gratitude that's due to them. Following is a list of companies in the Fayetteville, Fort Bragg area that have dedicated parking spots in the names of Purple Heart veterans and fallen heroes. Gold's Gym, Hope Mills, Hooters, Kickback Jacks, Aqua, Omni Gym, Buffalo Wild Wings, Charlie Mike's Pub, Hot Rods, Spout Springs, Evolution Inc., Twisted Grapes, Mission Barbecue, Fort Bragg, Cape Fear Harley Davidson, Rick Hendrick Chrysler Jeep Fiat, Legends Pub, and DeVille Skate Shop, including the ones in Savannah Harley Davidson. The names of the veterans all have parking spots in their names. Edward Dwayne Cantrell, Tony O'Alice, Brandon Pepper, Andrew McKenna, Matthew Sluss Tiller, Anselmo Martinez III, Chris Falkel, Timothy McGill, Roy Benavidez, Scott Dyer, Timothy Hankins, Grant Shanneman, Mark McCowan, Caleb White, Anthony Davis, Alessandro Platino, David Warner Hughes, Scott Sather, Stephen Davis. And personally, I want to mention Tony Yost, Christopher Hartsock, and Willie Lubers. These three gentlemen I knew personally and have fond memories of. Let's not forget these guys. In a future program, I'm going to have a memorial episode where I talk about some of the individuals I know, such as Willie Lubers, Tony Yost, and Christopher Hartsock. But let's get to it. Let's get into the show and let's talk about this program that's helping us remember these veterans. Today on Changing Hearts and Minds, I'd like to welcome Enrique Murillo. Enrique Murillo was born in Belize in 1980. He was raised in Jersey City, New Jersey, same place I was, where he lived with his mother, stepfather, and 4 sisters. After high school, he joined the United States Army and volunteered to become an Army Ranger. He served in the 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment as a forward observer, and in 2003, after spending a year serving in Korea, he tried out and attended the Special Forces Assessment and Selection. He was selected, and upon graduating from the qualification course and earning his Green Beret, he was sent to 3rd Special Forces Group, same group that I came from. Ricky's been deployed to combat 5 times where he was injured, 1 time after being shot in 2008. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute here. Ricky was separated from service as a sergeant first class when he had his Ranger tab and his Special Forces tab. He has been awarded 2 Bronze Stars, a Purple Heart, a Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Combat Infantryman Badge, National Defense Service Medal, the GWAT Service Medal, and the GWAT Expeditionary Medal, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree. In 2012, after he left, since separating from the Army, he does contract work and is the founder and administrator of the Veterans Parking Dedication, which is an organization that gets parking spots dedicated in the name of wounded and deceased veterans. Ricky, as you guys will hear me call him Ricky in the show. Ricky, welcome to Changing Hearts and Minds, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, buddy.
It was a long time, and we finally get it together now.
Yeah, for you listeners, so you guys know the history of that. When I first got asked to do this show, I had a couple people that immediately popped up in my head that I wanted to have on the show right away. Jeff Daugherty, as you guys heard, was one of them. Another good friend of me and Ricky's that I went to Ranger School with and everything was another name that popped up in my head. And then obviously Ricky. He's so busy, guys, that it is so hard to get this guy, to get him to sit down and be able to get on the phone. And it's not because he doesn't have the time, he doesn't want to make time for people. He's just so busy all the time. Ricky, beyond the bio that I just read, why don't you take a moment and tell listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, since 2003, and like everything you said in the bio is true. I have my beautiful kids, they're just beautiful. That's all I can say. And I've learned to call Fayetteville my home. As many times as I've tried to move and decide to leave, it's brought me back because of the community and the network that we have here. And I'm just your overall regular type of guy. I like to think we're doing regular things. And that's really pretty much how I can sum it up,
Right, yeah, and I would agree with you 100% because I'm in the same boat. Me and Ricky, we are from, literally the same square block in New Jersey. I mean, we come from the same exact place, and I am the same way. I've come to learn to call Fayetteville, North Carolina, my home, and I have no intention of ever leaving or wanting to leave or go anywhere else. So, and I'm the same way. I had tried to move away a couple times here and there, but it just never worked out. So Ricky, real quick, let's before we get into the actual organization, I know the listeners don't, but we always joke around with you about the Ricky's Alive Day. What do we call it once a year?
The Born Again Day.
Eat a Dick Day. Enrique is Alive Day.
So where the Eat a Dick Day came from, I got shot in 2008, January 26th. And my mom's birthday was January 25th. So pretty much I always say that the Taliban tried to ruin my mother's birthday. So I tell them to go eat a dick. And it was one of the best 3 months of my life. It's a great experience from the moment of getting shot to getting off the battlefield. My teammates tried, their best, and we made it happen. And because I'm alive today is because of my teammates. Went home, did the welcome home. Family came. Healed up a month later. I got home about February 3rd. I was cleared about March 10th or 11th. And, they was like, hey, you ready to go? And I'm like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And in a way, the command did not want me to go back, and I can't admit that I left without permission because my paper got signed off and I was good to go. And I was back in country at my fire base within 3.5 days, which was amazing because everywhere I went, there was a flight there, and I managed to get myself on there.
Right, and it was funny because when we were going through getting all the dates set up, and I was looking at it, and I saw injured on this date, and back to team on this date, and I swear I'm like, man, that's a misprint. He fucked that up. There's no way he got and then got back to the team that short. But then I got to remember how some of, I've been on teams where guys got, I knew a guy got shot in the knee, and he got evac'd, and they told him he was going back to the States, and sure as shit, if he didn't, quote unquote, sneak away from the hospital and show back up at the fire base,
Yeah.
And so it really is, man. I hear stuff like that, and it really is. There's so many stories of that, but for you specifically, man, that's right on. You getting shot, splitting your bicep like that, and in and out and stuff like that. That's badass. And you know that, I know that, but we always try to be humble about it. But no, let's just face it, man. There's not too many people that can be shot 5 times and tell the Taliban to eat a dick. So, right on. So you got out in 2012, and I'm not sure because we knew each other when we were in, and then when you and I both were getting out, we didn't see much of each other. But where did the veterans parking dedication or the Purple Heart parking dedication? Where did that come? First of all, tell everybody what it is, and talk about what's on the actual signs, because I really do think it's a genius idea.
Purple Heart parking dedication, and which now we have the veterans parking dedication. The way it was developed, it came to me, was honestly, I was at the gym. There were no parking spaces there, and I knew Bubba's restaurant here had a Purple Heart parking space, and I went to the manager of Gold's Gym, and I said, hey, we should put a Purple Heart parking space out there, so I can park closer, because it's just packed in here.
So I can.
And that's honestly where it came from. And so he was like, yeah, Rick, sounds like a great idea. Look into it. So I looked into it, gave him the info. He bought the sign, and he was kind of upset because he wanted a double-sided sign. And I was like, okay, how much are the signs? He told me how much. I was like, that's cool. I'll buy one too, so we can put 2 up. So I picked up the signs, and I sat on the signs for about a day or so. I just had them, and that was it. And I decided, I looked, and I was like, you know what? We should dedicate a name to these signs.
Yeah.
And of course, the first name that came to mind was Edward Dwayne Cantrell. With his story, I'm sure everybody knows, there's a fire. He went back in to save his little girls. They did not come out. And to me, that's one of the most heroic things ever. And I wanted to do that for him. And of course, went through our friends, our channels, and it finally got to his wife, and she said, okay. And that's where it came from. So we started with that. By the end of 2 weeks, we had 5 signs going up in Fayetteville. I went around town with my friends to our local spots that we go to, and I was like, hey, what do you think about Purple Heart parking here? And everywhere I went, I was always a regular customer, so no one really gave any backing about any negativity or any pushback. And it was like, well, how much is it? What do we have to do? And I was like, hey, you guys don't have to do nothing. At this point, me and my friends will handle it.
Right.
So,
right.
Places like Hooters, Kickback Jacks that knew me personally, they were like, sure, Rick, sounds a great idea. So we were able to get it off the ground with those supportive places.
Right, right. Well, it's also those are the places you go to, so they're the places that you're going to start talking to first.
Exactly.
Before you talk to anywhere else about it. And just going back real quick, for the listeners who don't know who Cantrell was, so he was a warrant officer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he was a warrant officer that was in third group with me and Rick, and one morning, right before everyone was getting ready to go to work, his house catches on fire, and it's a tragic story. He got out of the house, realized his daughters were still in the house. He went back in to try to save his two little girls, and him and his little girls all ended up perishing in the fire. And it really is a massively sad story, and it's just so that, and this is, I'm only telling it so that everyone has a bit of an idea. You can look him up. I'll put a link to his story in the show notes page for everyone to see it. But that was, for guys like us, we have a lot of people that we've known that have given their lives overseas to help out the war effort and for their country. But that story of Cantrell and how that went down, and that really shook Third Group, I think, to its core because it really was. I mean, this guy, it was his own kids, and and it really was a heroic task. But every single guy that has kids, and even the guys who don't have kids, guys who know young kids, they felt that story, and it really got to guys and brought out this feeling of how the real tragedy. We talk about guys dying in combat, doing what we love. For us, a lot of times it's not tragic. It's a shame, but they died doing what they wanted to do. Where with Cantrell, it really was a tragedy because it was just horrible story. So, I tip my hat to you for coming up with that idea for that name. If I'm going to go, put my money somewhere for purchasing something, I'm more likely going to go to a place I go to all the time. If I'm going to go ask somebody to donate money for something, first places I'm going to go to are the places that I know. When did you start the QR code? Because this is one of the things about it that I think is really just a genius idea. Talk to the listeners a little bit about how you put these QR codes on it and the idea that came up with putting these on so that people can scan these parking spots and get the story of the person that the spot is dedicated to.
So the original signs we did, it was 5 we put up, and then we ended up sending to the Sanford. And those signs did not have the QR code. But as the day was going on and we're going to each spot, we were talking about, hey, in a future time, I think one of the guys I was with was talking about in a future time, we should put something on the signs that people will be able to scan and read, and we're like, oh, okay, like a chip or something, we're just brainstorming. And that was, probably March in 2015, I believe. And it was like, okay, well, we'll get to that when we can. We'll keep this going. So later on that year, I came across a QR code, and I was like, oh, well, how did this work? And they're like, well, you just put your phone to it, scan it. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool, and you get all this information. So I thought about it, and I went to we go to Charlie Mike's. Charlie Mike's is one of the SF bars around here, but it actually supports and serves the entire military community. And I spoke to one of the owner, Miss Iris, and I told her about what I was thinking with the QR codes, and she was like, oh, she was like, Bob, which is the other owner, her husband, he had a book of all the QR codes for the memorial wall they have in there. So I was like, wow, really? And I go and I look into the book, and I look at Bob, and I go, Bob, can I use these? Because this is what I want to do. I want to put these QR codes on the sign. So Bob was like, yeah, you can, and then he told me how to make them, and I was like, perfect, So that's where the QR code came. So what we wanted to do was take down all the original signs and put new signs up with the QR code. Of course, it was going to be pricey, so I was looking at people, like the Green Beret Foundation, other organizations to help out. And SF Trust, they actually came through and they paid the money to replace all 7 original signs, which we took down and gave to the family members, and we put up the new signs, which had the QR codes. So we had our name, a gold plate on each sign. On the top left, you have a QR code. So once you download the app onto your phone, you scan the QR code with your phone, and it'll give you the bio of the person that's on that some particular sign.
Yeah, it really is. It's a genius idea, and it's one of those things where when you see it, and again, guys, there'll be a link to a picture of what the signs look like on the show notes page, and also I'm going to talk. Maybe getting Shanahan's QR code, and we'll put it on the show notes page, so there's an example on there, and people can see it on the actual on the website. But you see it, and it's brilliant because you look at it and you think, God, how come it's so simple? It's like with all the technology we have nowadays and everything, all the things that we have where you can see these different ways of interacting with media, that it's such a genius idea, man. And I really applaud you for coming up with it. And I wish I'd come up with it because, man, I'd be a millionaire if I can. I mean, not for that, but for other things. It's just a genius idea.
I mean, I didn't, like I said, I didn't come up with it. I just incorporated it into what we had. The thing, I mean, whoever came up with the QR code, they're a millionaire right now. So, I mean.
Oh, yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your ability to get it tied in to the actual dedication parking spots.
Yes.
So Rick, what does it mean? What does it mean to you to be able to get out there and do these things for the families and for the veterans? Well, how does this, what I mean, I know that there's an emotional aspect to this, for guys like us. What does it do for you? Do you feel like you're still giving back? That kind of, talk to us a little bit about the emotional benefits, for you and all the people that help you out with this in being able to honor these guys.
It's pretty much self-gratifying, you know, but the main thing is for the families to realize that their loved ones aren't forgotten. And, no matter, when it comes down to rides that the guys do, any memorials, charities, with the signs and the way I look at them now, it's a continuous reminder. So every time somebody goes to that sign and they scan that, QR code, that's an additional memory of that person being broadcast
Right.
throughout the community, throughout other people. And my main thing is I always tell the guys, I was like, hey, our objective is to make sure the family is stress free when they come to these events and let them know that, hey, we're here for them and we're here to honor their loved ones and that they're not forgotten. And that's the sole purpose of what it is.
Yeah, right on. And another thing that you've actually started branching out into is, and I think it was a year ago was the first time I saw it, but you're starting to coordinate and administrate suicide awareness runs. Talk to us a little bit about the history behind where that came from and what you got going on with that.
So a year prior to, we did a run this year, we did a run last year. A year prior to that, I was going through some stuff. I had some legal issues, some personal problems, and just some stuff I was dealing with. And I had a friend who we were friends for a straight year. Besides knowing each other, we didn't know each other until we got out. We met in the basement of the One Stop building, and we became friends ever since. And we got out together. We went and did little jobs together. There was probably 2 days out of that entire year me and him did not spend together.
Right.
And then he moved away. His life was doing great. He became a diver. He had a girlfriend. Everything was going good. And I considered him a best friend. He considered me a best friend. And one morning I just got a phone call that he committed suicide. And before that, growing up in special operations, growing up as a Ranger, growing up as SF, we had the stigma of where suicide is cowardness, suicide is, selfish, and we just had that mentality. So when we hear about it from a different, perspective, we always think, oh yeah, that's a selfish person, that's a coward person. But when it affects us personally, then that's where we take a step back and say, okay, what could I have done differently? And to me, because of what I was going through, I was like, wow, I don't even consider myself a best friend because a best friend will recognize these things. I was so caught up in my life and my problems that I wasn't able to, recognize my friend's problem.
Right.
So therefore, I just continued on to do what I do. I couldn't even go to the funeral because of what I had going on, and that's what hurt me inside. And I end up getting his dive helmet shipped to North Carolina. We got it stripped down. We got it repainted. I did some research, of course, more into his life, his Boy Scout number, his dive theme, his 2 deployments. He had very good thing about Barry Barker. Barry Barker was a very good friend of mine. And the most hilarious story, he has a tramp stamp on his back. And he was like, one day, we're looking at girls, and I was like, wow, look at that tramp stamp. And he was like, oh, I've got one too. And I was like, no, you don't. You better not have one because we are not going to be friends if you have one. So he lifts up his shirt. On his lower left side, he has a stamp that says tramp. And it was one of the most hilarious things I've ever heard or seen. Funny. And I was like, wow. So on the back of this helmet, when I got it repainted, I'll send you the pictures of the helmet. Well, I put, of course, the tramp stamp went back there, and there's a couple of tattoos. And I took the helmet. I spoke to his mother. I spoke to her from the time of the death to funeral to beyond. And I said, hey, I'm going to come to Seattle. I want to present you something. I still had my stuff going on, but once they heard what I was going to go do, they gave me freedom to fly to Seattle and do it. So I went to Seattle, met his mom, and presented her with a helmet that we've got done. And it gave a description of the unit patches. We had pictures from a little, ceremony we did the night before. And I mean, to me, some people say it was closure. It was some type of closure, but I've got a family now in Seattle.
Right.
And I've got, like I said, he's a friend for life. So the following year, his anniversary was coming up, and I wanted to do something along with his birthday. His birthday is May 5th, mine's May 3rd. So with a week in mind, I'm like, you know what? Let's do a suicide awareness run. And, of course, my friends are like, sure, let's do it. So the point of the run was to wear body armor. And the significance behind that, which in my mind, this is what I think it means, is that when we're downrange, we wear our body armor, and we feel safe once we're wearing that. So when we come home, we take that body armor off. But what we're seeing and realizing now that there's a battle at home that rages inside us still. So the significance behind that was to wear the body armor for this run, to give people a sense of safety, and we talk about, hey, let's continue and keep an eye out for a buddy and watch each other. If we need to wear this, we wear this to feel somewhat safe. It's like a blanket. You have your favorite blanket when you're a child. Some people don't let them go. I have a Batman blanket that I carry around with me when I travel.
Going back to the suicide stuff, what I think is important about it is, it's, you guys have listened to my other shows. I've talked about my struggles with PTSD and how dark it could get at times, and how we all, guys like me and Rick and a lot of those guys out there, that we struggle very, very privately a lot of times with the issues that we have. And one of the reasons why, Rick does what he does and why I do the shows I do is because we want to get the awareness and the word out there. We've got to pick up the phone, and we've got to ask for help when we need it. We've got to be able to call our buddies. And, it's been a rough year, to be quite honest with you, for guys like me and Rick, because we've had a lot of friends this year, and a lot of people we know who have taken the route of suicide over picking up the phone. And I don't know how many times over the last year, Rick, we've had it, not again. It's been posted on Facebook, or God damn it, pick up the phone. I talk about Chris Corbin, really good friend of me and Rick's, the guy that was the third guy that I wanted to have on the show right away. A guy that he was my Ranger buddy in Ranger school. We known each other, went to pre-Ranger together. We've known each other for years. Rick's known him for years. We go back a ways, the three of us. He's constantly, every time it's God damn it, not again on Facebook. My heart just sinks because I know what that means. We've had quite a bit of struggles. Hitting home for me was, so Rick here had his junior on his team, ended up being one of my guys on the dog teams. Me and Aaron became such good friends. Well, he died a couple years ago in Afghanistan, and 2 weeks afterwards, the team sergeant who took over for me and was the team sergeant for him when he died committed suicide. And that was another guy that I had known for years. And that's when it hit home for me. And so it's been a struggle for us with this epidemic that's going on. So getting out there and doing these runs and getting the word out is massively important, because we've got an epidemic that we have to deal with, and we have to stop ignoring it and start taking it on face on. And then I applaud you for taking it on like that and bringing it out there. And I think it's brilliant with the body armor, because it really does indicate that whole sense of feeling safe, because we got the body armor on, and then we get home and realize that we're not safe, and that we allow ourselves to continue to fight this battle.
And along with the body armor, we wore name tapes. Last year we had sticky name tapes. This year people went out and made name tapes, and and I find it, like I said, last year was a rough year for us. I have 5 name tapes compared to 1 name tape that I had the first year we started, and was really hoping to reach out. But last year and this year's run, I had 5 name tapes on me, and it was, people I knew personally, met personally before. And what I tell the guys is, we had about 80 to 90 people this year, and we tell them, hey, reach out to one person. If we connect with one person, then that one person will connect with another person. You don't have to all connect with each other. Connect with one person, make that difference. Because I believe every interaction you have with another human being alters their life path. And if you can alter their path in a positive way, then by all means, let's do that. reach out to somebody, just say, make a new friend every day.
Amen. Amen to that, brother. I know that you make a lot of statements about we got a lot of friends that are helping you do this, but we in our circle of friends, we know the efforts that you put in individually to get the parking dedication, the suicide awareness runs. How has it been for you, and how do you manage on a day-to-day basis being able to do all this stuff? Pretty much not by yourself. Like you said, you do have people who help you out, but I mean, you're doing a lot of this stuff alone, and you're getting a lot accomplished by yourself. Talk about how you're building those bridges, and maybe it could be a lesson for some people out there about networking and how you're building those bridges and getting other people involved to be able to get to accomplish some really, really important and large scale dedication ceremonies.
Definitely. Everything started with volunteers, and we started small, but as we move on, it began to grow. And not a problem, but the thing is, when you grow and you create something, now you've created a new standard. So each presentation dedication has, we added the flowers. So now we have flowers at everyone. We have coins at everyone. Financially, it's mostly between me and my close friends, and then whoever else wants to donate at that time with the first 3 presentation. And then we just took the money out of it, and we say, hey, if you want to sponsor a sign, you call the sign company, which is King Signs. They also run their own nonprofit Patriot Hunts, which is awesome, but they're supporting me in what I do. And so they created an account for me where people call and they say, hey, I want to sponsor money or donate money on Rick Murillo's Purple Heart Veterans Parking Project. So that money goes into that account and no one can touch that. If it costs $65 to make a sign and that's it, the rest of that money rolled towards something else, and for $100 for the sign company to go out there, put a sign up, break ground, break asphalt, that is bare minimum, but they do it. One of my good friends, Jamin Brooks, he goes out there, he leads his guys to put those signs in. If something's wrong with that, I hit him up and he goes out there. The trophy house, they do my gold plates. They do the same thing. They have an account set up, money goes in there, no one can touch it. Now the extra expenses come from myself, my friends, say, hey, can you guys pick up the flowers? Or we have a flower company donate flowers. Hey, this is what I'm doing. Some of them do, and some say, hey, well, I can give it to you at wholesale. Because we can't get everything free all the time. But, when it comes down to it, I always say me and my friends made this happen. Because without them, I couldn't accomplish what I accomplished. They go out, they pick up chairs, they pick up food, whatever we need done. Now, the biggest thing, we just finished a dedication in Savannah.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that, yeah.
It was my first out-of-state dedication. I was very nervous. I grew up in 1st Ranger Battalion there, so I left there when I was pretty young. The Ranger Brotherhood is very well connected when it comes to brotherhood and family. So I would go down there and visit and meet a new Ranger every day, So I went down there 2 times prior to the dedication, met a whole bunch of new Rangers, older Rangers, younger Rangers. And I say, hey, this is what I want to do here. And say, okay, cool. So planning it, with the help of those guys down there, we managed I wanted to do a dinner the night before between Mike Cusick and Nisha Gustino. They end up raising $500, through Sua Sponte and another organization for the dinner. We end up doing the dinner. Instead of 20 people, we had over 55 people show up to the dinner at Kevin Berry's. Kevin Berry's a full Ranger supporter, military supporter. At the end of it, Kevin Berry said, hey, I'll fit the bill. So he ends up paying for the entire thing. We gave back the money to Sua Sponte Foundation, kept some of the money to tip the waitresses, and that was it. Flowers, we had a flower company down there. They were like, hey, we're going to sell it to you at wholesale. Okay, cool, we'll find out. I asked one of the girls, Chesney Wilson. She went down there, spoke to them. She ended up buying the flowers herself, went a little extra with them. Teddy bears came through. So besides the sponsoring, everything else comes from myself and my friends. And and this is what we talk about. This is family, and this is what we do. They understand the big picture. And once you understand the big picture, which is the family, making sure the family know that their loved ones aren't forgotten, and that's how we do it. A lot of people talk about doing a nonprofit. I've spoken to a couple of people. I want to get involved because, like I said, Savannah was quite expense. We ended up flying a family member from Hawaii to Daytona to pick up her mom so she can be at the dedication.
Right.
You know, we raised money to get that, to make that happen. So it was by far one of the most expensive dedications, but we made it happen as a family, as a group. You know, people from here, Fayetteville, went down there to support me. And the community down there was just overwhelming. We set it up to where I had a bike club pick up each family member and escort them from their place to the Harley Davidson. And none of these guys, besides the KMS group that's down there, which is the All Ranger Bike Club, the other two bike clubs did not know me from nothing. All they knew was this guy was coming to town. This is what he wants to do. They see the vision. And they say, they met up with me Thursday night, said, Roger that, we'll be wherever you tell me to be. Cool. They went up, picked a family. Each family came in with an escort of motorcycles. And that's just the family that we have. You know, they realize this is what it's about. And then at the end of the day, it's all about honoring our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, it really is a community effort when it comes down to it. The amount of people that will show up and come out is really staggering. I mean, it's amazing how, you know, we live in a world where everything is forgotten 5 minutes after it happens. The fact that this organization has been able to not just remember the veterans, the Purple Heart dedications, and also the fallen veterans that you're memorializing and dedicating these spots to and doing the runs for, but the fact that people still come out. And they still come out and they support it no matter how long it's been. When Rick says that he was nervous about being down Savannah, it's 100% true, because, you know, he's texting me, you know, a night or two before. He's like, oh man, I'm getting ready to go down here, and, you know, I don't know how many people are going to be there, because it was out of state. You know, you didn't have your hands in it, so you were relying quite a bit on other organizations, and you know, you don't know as many people down there as you used to because you haven't been down there a while. But when he came back, and, you know, he sent me a message the morning after he gets back. He's like, you got to see this. And it was a news report, and there was people everywhere. Then they really came out, and it was a great turnout. And, you know, that says a lot, because just a couple months before, the Harley Davidson dealership in Fayetteville, the Cape Fear Harley Davidson dealership, he had a dedication there for 2 parking spots. And I came out there that morning, and I helped out and I spoke with the crowd. But the amount of people and the organization that went into putting that together, I mean, it was a large event. I mean, it was by far, every time I go out, it's more and more people are showing up to these events. And it really says a lot about the community that we have, and the fact that we are standing up for our brothers and sisters and making sure that they're not forgotten. And the issues that we face, that we're really taking it, like I said, taking it head on. It's not something that we take lightly. Definitely not something that Rick is taking lightly. And what he's doing, and Rick, and I say this with all honesty, man, what you're doing right now for the community is phenomenal, man. Make sure that we keep this going, because, I mean, this is definitely something that needs to be done for the sake of the families and for the sake of the community, to keep us all tied in together and remember, you know, the sacrifices that we made and then the sacrifices that we continue to have to make when we get back.
Definitely. I appreciate you, and I thank you for your support. Thank everyone out there for their support.
So you get back from Savannah. This is like just a week ago. And then, you know, you come out with another big piece of news having to do with the city of Fayetteville. So what's happening now? What do we got coming up here, which is the big news, which in my opinion is huge news when you've got the city organization backing you. So what's going on?
So I got invited out from a friend of mine, Tony Brown, with Southern CC. Now, Tony U. Brown is a third group guy, first battalion. He runs a program called Homes for Homeless Vets. So, and he does a lot of stuff. I got to sit down, meet with him. He actually wanted to meet with me and talk to me about what I do and, you know, where I'm at, where I stand with. So we actually spoke a couple times. He took me to this mayor's dinner, which, you know, once a month they have dinner with the mayor. It's upcoming entrepreneurs, business people, you know, the director of Crown Coliseum, the GM of the Houston Astros. So it's a couple of judges and officials there. And he just does to meet and greet, talk. So I got to speak with the mayor, showed him the sign, explained him the sign, and, you know, took a picture with him. He's all for it. Let's go. Spoke with the Crown, and they agreed that, you know, we're going to put up 10 to 12 parking signs at the Crown Coliseum. So on August 19th, we have the Purple Heart Dinner, which is the dinner is being dedicated to Purple Heart recipients at the Crown Coliseum. So we're going to headline the dinner with a 2 parking space dedication, one for a SF captain and one also for a former Triple Nickel member. So that's going to be a big event, and we're just, you know, with the more of the elected officials involved, with mayor having insight on it, we're going to come together and, make this one of the biggest, community dedications ever.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's exciting, man. Good stuff. It really is. The 19th August, if you're in the Fayetteville area, guys, and we're going to post it. It'll be posted on the website, posted on the social media accounts. If you guys have been following, Changing Hearts and Minds on social media, you've seen Rick quite a bit on I'm always posting stuff about Rick and what he's doing on there. So you obviously probably have seen the news report from Savannah, and we'll be posting this stuff for this upcoming event. This is a big deal. This says a lot about how much we've been, you've been able, Rick, you've been able to reach out and get involved. The fact that the community as a whole, the local community is behind what you're doing. Where do you hope to take this? I mean, I obviously sky's the limit. You want as many people participating in as many parking spots out there as possible. Where do you see the future of the organization going? And
at this point, what I would like to see, just like I go down to Savannah, I do the big dedication. Couple guys shadow me, which right now Mike Cusick of Savannah, Greg Blackwell of Florida. Savannah's actually planning their dedication at the new 9-line building they're having there on September 11th. So they're doing dedicated parking space. Greg Blackwell is also doing a dedication for Ben Kopp in, down there in Lakeland, Harley-Davidson, August 19th also. So I'd like to be at all these dedications, but I can't. And the best thing to do is do the original one or have people come up and see it, and then we can branch out and we can have people down in Savannah continue it on, people in Lakeland continue it on. I was up in Minneapolis for the Ben Kopp Memorial Ride. I met so many people up there. I was, privileged with getting up there to speak by Jill Stevenson, which is Ben Kopp's mom. She wanted me to speak about the signs. And after I got done with that, so many numbers were exchanged and people want to do it up there. September 24th, we're going down to Tampa. It's Gold Star Family Day. We're doing 10 sign dedications for the Home Depot down there.
Nice.
So, Greg Blackwell works for the Home Depot. So Greg is going to do the Lakeland one, but he asked me to come down to do the Gold Star one. He wants me to do that one since it's a bigger one, and, and just get some more help with it. So that's my goal, is to keep spreading it and then being able to walk away and have someone pick it up and just continue going with it. And we just keep the integrity of it going. And just remember, the priority, the main concern is to make sure that family shows up there and they're stress-free and they realize, hey, the loved ones are not forgotten.
Right on. Where do you have any way of people reaching out and contacting you? Whether it be Facebook or some other social media? Do you have any way of contact right now? Any way to contact you?
It would just be Facebook, Enrique Roberto Murillo, or they can email me at murillo.enrique20@gmail.com.
And I'll have both those links will both be on the show notes page, guys, so you can be able to access those. If somebody wants to donate, you talked about people donating money to the different organizations that put the signs up in those accounts. Where can they find those places to donate money at, Rick?
King Signs of North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina. They can call King Signs and just say, hey, I would like to put money on Rick Murillo's Purple Heart Veteran Parking Project, or the Trophy House of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Same thing, put money on Rick Murillo's Purple Heart Veterans Parking Project. And that's as simple as we can get it for now, until we develop some other thing. And it just keeps the integrity, keep it going. And like I said, once the money goes in there, it goes towards nothing but what it's originally developed for. Trophy House is for the plates. King Signs is for the signs. And that's it.
And right, and those will also be in the show notes page, guys. Go down there, find those links, dig down deep. Remember what this is for, and I encourage you all to donate some money, help out. We all can't get out there and be pound the pavement with and get the people's names out there and do that. But everybody can help and everyone can participate one way or the other. And one of the ways you can participate is by reaching down in your pocket, putting down $10, $20. $5, hell, $1. It doesn't really matter. Just find some way of getting yourself acclimated and getting into the community and doing stuff. And for the veterans out there, guys, I'm telling you, and I'm sure that Rick can back me up on this, it is cleansing, and it helps your soul to get out there and help other people. It really does. And when you get out there and you participate in these kind of events, it helps you heal and move forward as an individual. And if you're having issues and having struggles, and looking for something, some kind of a cause in your life, things like this are going to be more fulfilling than you can even possibly imagine. Would you agree, Rick?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it really is. I know that Rick has had a massive amount of benefit from doing what he's doing, and like I said, I do, you know, just like Rick says, I do these shows because these shows help me as much as they help other people. So getting out there and becoming part of the community and getting out there and remembering these guys. We don't have to lay down and pretend that everything we did, it was in the past and is over with. I mean, we can still, you know, we can still participate. We can still do things that are meaningful. It's just a different way that we do it. And then, Rick, you have found a way to bring value and meaning back to the world around you. And for that alone, you know, you'll always have my support and my help. And you get the help of your friends or other friends around you because, you know, we do believe in what you're doing.
Thank you.
I want to thank Rick for coming on today. And believe me, when this is all edited, you won't see it, but as hard as it was for us to get together, you should have seen what the first 20 minutes of this interview were like. I mean, we were getting kicked off of Skype. Skype was telling us to eat a dick and all kinds of stuff. And so, but we got it all worked out. We got everything done, and it's going to be a good show. I think, like I said before, you guys will be able to find all the show notes page will have connections to Rick and connections to be able to donate money and stuff like that. And Rick, I want to thank you for coming on today, brother. I appreciate you and everything you're doing.
Hey, thank you, brother. Same to you.
Yes, sir. And guys, remember that your life is within your hands. There is nobody that can tell you what you can or cannot do except for you. Don't ever let yourself beat yourself down or tell yourself that you can't accomplish or do anything, no matter what your situation or what your criteria are. Rangers do lead the way. I will guarantee you that. So do not oppress yourselves. De-oppress the libera, free the oppressed, and we will see you guys next week.